it takes a lot of courage to use love as your first value. There's so many people that are like, oh, that's a soft value. We shouldn't do that, right? It is hard as hell to love people.
Yeah.
It is.
Especially when they're doing things that you think, man, why the hell would they do that? It's not in concert with our vision. It's not in concert with our values. But, I say this all the time. I've never built a world-class relationship yelling at people, right? And so there's yellers in the world. No, I just have standards. And we either can meet the standards together, either through talent or training, or we can't.
Right.
And if we can't,
either way is fine.
then we disinvite you from the mission, and that's okay.
Yep.
Let me help you go find what your other thing is.
Right.
But when you approach life and when you approach business, that love is the ultimate superpower, man, everything just falls into place.
Yeah.
Every damn thing falls into place.
Yeah.
Because when you are walking around with hate on your heart, man, I would not want to be that guy.
Welcome to the Quantum Leadership Show. My name is Boone Ryans. I'm your host. And over here to the left, we have Mark Scherer. And over here to my right, we have Jerry Macnamara, also known as J-Mac. All right, he's going to drop an EP here pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that.
My kids will love that.
We'll get you a Go train that has J-Mac on it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. I'm with you.
All right, so we're here again talking about leadership. And I hear that is your expertise. We were having a conversation about what you do about leadership, and you were dropping some dimes, buddy. Could you share some more about that?
For sure. So I have been lucky enough to run 5 different companies in 5 different industries over the course of the last 25 years.
Okay.
And I really believe that the difference between good companies and great companies really resides in leadership. And so the clearer we are in our vision and our values, we can make that transformation from creating a company to compelling companies that outperform, and you can create communities out of that, right? We should be creating communities on a mission. And that's what great leaders do. We invite people to come with us to go make the impact that we want to go make. And so there's so many times that people just don't focus on the fundamentals, and they just focus on the product or the service that they're trying to deliver to the marketplace. And they forget that all of the work happens through people. And that's what great leadership is all about.
Yep.
Awesome.
And we keep moving more and more to an experiential economy where, great products, good pricing today is, if you don't have that, you're not going to make it anyway, right? But then what distinguishes people was experience, and your team members, or interacting with the public, or interacting with each other, and what's the experience working with your company? That's the huge thing, man.
And I think, I've been talking a lot about this, Mark. If you are still in a transaction mindset of trading money for time and effort, you are missing the mark, because in August we had 4.3 million people voluntarily resign in the United States. And, there was an Edelman report that just came out. 61% of people are now looking for purpose in their work.
Yep.
And so if you are not looking to create a transformational experience, again, communities on missions where we invite them to come along, not only the people that we invite inside our company, but our customers and the people at large, it's how people feel about the work that we're doing, then you're missing the mark.
Yep.
And I think that's a great shift that we're seeing coming out of COVID, that people are looking up and saying, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yep.
Doesn't make a difference anymore. And that's why you're seeing this great resignation that's happening. And so as a leader, if you're not paying attention to those individual data points to create an insight, then I think you're really missing the mark as a leader.
Yep. And millennials too, they want purpose in their career. That's big for them.
Absolutely.
And with all this reset we just went through, people had time to sit back and think, what am I really doing here? What am I really doing with my life? Man, they start asking those questions, and they start getting answers to them.
Amen. And I was in a company training on Monday, and it's one of the things that I talked about to the employees. I said, if you are not inspired being here, that's okay. You should go find somewhere else where you are inspired.
Yep.
because you're owed that as an individual. You should be owed that. And if I was your leader, I would help flush that out for you to say, Boone, you don't love being here. That's okay. You're still a great person. I love you as a individual and as a friend, but there's another better place for you where you have that alignment of what your impact that you want to have in the world and the values, which is the operating system, how we feel every day being inside of a company. Go find that somewhere else. Totally cool.
Right.
But most people are so afraid to have those hard conversations. And, my first value in leading companies is love your people and treat them as whole people, right? And so there's people that say, oh, it's just business. Well, I can't unwind the person from business and personal. That is one person. Yep. And so you have to love them as a whole person, which means you care about them, not only the work that they're doing, but when they go home. Are they okay at home? And some people want to just dismiss, well, that personal side is on their side. No, it isn't, because it impacts the work that they do. And that's why, over the course of the next 5 years, I want to positively impact 5 million people through better business. And I want to help CEOs have more fun by creating compelling companies that outperform and still make it home for dinner.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. And that becomes a super fun, engaging place, because I think about it, if you don't like your work, it never occurred to me that people wouldn't like the work that they do. Because I've always been in senior leadership. I've always run the company. So if I wanted to make a change, I made a change, right? And I never thought that someone at the rank and file wouldn't necessarily like what they did. Yep. And so I can't imagine that every day I would go home hating my work and still be the best husband that I could be, the best father I could be, the best son, the best friend. And so I just think with better leadership, helping CEOs create that compelling company, you positively impact the world, because someone's going to go home and feel great about the work that they do. My vision, my goal is that when they go home, their spouse says, hey, Boone, did you have a great day today? And Boone would say, you know what? Love the work that I do. I have all the tools and resources that I need to succeed. I'm winning every single day. My CEO is so smart. I feel so engaged in the vision and the purpose of what it is that we're doing. I would do this for free.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? That's when you are winning. And sometimes we're sold this mindset that you have to grind and grind and grind and grind. Yeah, there's times in business, right, where you have sprints and it's hard. But if that becomes the way of life, then you've missed the mark of what the gift of business is.
Yeah.
And it's being able to make that positive impact. And that's what I want to go do with my life.
So were you raised that way, where your dad loved what he did? And
that's a really good question. So I'm going to start with my mom. My mom was one of 13 kids, and she had a 7th grade education because she needed help provide for the family, raised of very modest means, put herself through business school, like technical business school, and became a paralegal in the city of Philadelphia. She worked for the same man for 42 years, right? And so my mom was very focused in making sure that we knew that we had agency over our choices. And that was one of the greatest gifts. So I say it to my CEOs a little bit differently than she said it to me. But she said, my mom used to say, smile and the world smiles with you, and cry, cry alone. And I say to my CEOs, you can't always control your circumstances, but you can always choose your attitude and your approach.
yeah.
Right? And so my mom loved the work that she did every day, and you could see it.
That's
right?
awesome.
My dad was a salesperson, and that's a really interesting question. I've never asked him if he liked the work that he did. I'm going to ask him the next time I see him.
I mean, you could feel that around him. Yeah. I mean, that's a big...
You know what? I think my dad lived in a transactional world because he was a salesperson all of his life. And so I don't ever feel like, he sold cardboard boxes, right? He sold the containers for blueberries. I don't know that I would personally get jazzed about that, but maybe he did. But it's a good question. I'm gonna ask him. I think the important thing was, growing up as a family, we sat down and had dinner together. We talked about our day, and we talked about the choices that we made. And that, to me, is a gift that just doesn't happen in today's dual income families. I know I have a 9-year-old that's in gymnastics 4 days a week, and we're running her back and forth. And my 5-year-old, all he wants to be is outside and digging and banging on things. So we aspire to do it, but we definitely don't do it every night. But that was a gift that I got from my
That's
parents
cool.
for sure.
Impactful.
So it starts to get you more into the mindset of how to think rather than what to think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's that whole mindset. I've said this before. Life is a choice you make, right? I can choose to be happy or I can choose to be sad. That's a temporal thing every time
Yep.
I wake up. And so one of the things that I work on every day is I have a very strong morning routine, because I believe if you win the mind, you win the day. And I've got to prime the pump to go make the impact that I am destined to go make every single day. And I'm not going to leave it to chance. And so, yes, I wake up. Yes, I meditate. Yes, I pray. Yes, I write. Yes, I read. Yes, I exercise. And when I'm not doing those things, I know I'm not at my best. I can feel it. My energy is lower. My creativity is not there. And my decision making is limited.
Wow.
And so if you can get people into these mindsets of, it's your life, you should live it on your terms. But what happens so much, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, I have CEOs that come to me and say, I'm just not inspired by the work that I'm doing. Well, what did you want to go do? What did you want the business to do for you? And the answer is, I'm not sure. And it's like, no shit. No wonder why you're not getting what you want, because you've not clearly defined the impact that you want to go make. And so it's like they're a leaf blowing in the wind at the whims of whatever nature will take them to. And my point is, get really clear about what it is that you want to go do, and then go make that impact. And that's when life becomes really fun.
Beautiful. What do you find most difficult because I know sometimes when I get stuck in my rut, like, what is the system that gets you out of that? What is the system for the people that you come across to get out of that?
So first of all, you have to have clarity in your vision and your values, the impact that you want to go make in the world. That is the sustaining piece. When you look at grit and resilience and all of the trainings around that, the more connected you are to your why, the easier it is to get the train back on the tracks, right? And so when you don't have that, then you languish and you sit, wonder, why is it not happening the way I want it to happen? Well, let's get connected back to the why, and then we'll be able to get sustained in our grit and resilience and all of those other aspects. And so I always remind people of their why. And the second piece is I look and say, I have this thing I call the personal Pentagon. What are we doing to cultivate a positive mindset? Are you in control of your calendar? So I run CEOs. I have every single calendar, because I want to see and make sure that they have white space to think. Because if you don't, then you're not doing your job as the leader of the organization, right?
Gotcha.
Are you exercising? What's that look like, right? And so there's just these things that you can take people to. How is your morning routine? And making sure that they are solid in their approach so they don't get to that place of the imposter syndrome, that I shouldn't be here, that I shouldn't be making this impact. No. We're really clear about the impact that we want to make. You may need to be reminded of it. So let's focus in on the foundations. The last piece of the personal Pentagon is exercise. Are we exercising? For so many people, that is the keystone habit that triggers everything else to rock and roll forward. I know it is for me. And so when I'm talking to my CEOs and I walk them through the personal Pentagon, what are we doing to cultivate the positive mindset, all of those things, if they're missing, we always start with exercise. Get out, go for a walk. Make sure you're in nature, walking your dog, whether you're in the mountains of Denver or you're getting to the beach and walking here. Any which way, exercise has unlimited benefits that come back to you by doing it.
I agree with that.
So,
do you, in our system, we incorporate language. We're really big
Absolutely.
on our language. What is that like for you?
well, so I'll tell you a story. I worked out just up the road here at a place called Orange Theory Fitness. And so you think about the defaults that happen. Think about your computer that gets unpacked. Most people never change the speed of the mouse or how fast when you click it is best for you. And so we go through life just accepting these defaults. And it occurred to me that people would say, have a good day. And then someone else told you, have a good day. I don't want to fucking have a good day. I want to have a great day. Right? And so when people say to me, hey, have a good day. No, I say to them, do you not like me? I said, what do you mean? No, I want to have a great day, and I'm willing to go do the work. And so when I used to walk out of the studio and people would say, have a good day, they finally got to a point where all of them said, have a great day.
Yeah.
Right? Because I made them change their mindset on the defaults that they brought every single day.
Yep.
And we have all of them. I'm not a
Powerful.
morning person. Guess what, Boone? If I told you, what's the thing that you love to do most in the world? Dance. If I said, Boone, listen, there is a dance party that has just the most amazing DJ and all your friends are going to be there. It's going to be incredible. But guess what? It starts at 4 a.m. every day. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to change your life to be there at 4 a.m. because you love doing that. And you change the mindset of what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to show up. And that becomes an amazing thing. So I don't ever believe in the defaults. I believe in the choices. And so if you want to go after it, go after it.
Right.
Don't let things happen by chance or surrender yourself to that's just the way it is.
Yep. Be consistent. Once you're consistent and you make a change, you can see what a consistent change will bring. But otherwise, you're just all over the board.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
so language always makes a difference. Always makes a difference. I mean, Sean Acker, who I love, one of my favorite authors, he talks about the brain at positive outperforms the brain at negative, neutral, or stress by 31%. Why would you not take that unfair advantage? Like, marry science with your approach to life.
Yep.
Right? And you create all these unfair advantages that happen. And so, yes, I intentionally create a positive mindset every single day. So out of my values, which I'm very clear on, I have my intention statements that I say every morning. So the first one that I say is, I will add an insane amount of joy to the world today. Right? So I trigger that. I've been saying it every single day for years, every single day. So you know what my mind does? It's constantly scanning the landscape of the world to say, where can you add joy? Can you hold open that door? Can you compliment someone's shoes? Right? And it's that mindset of my own language that frames the impact that I'm going to go make.
Reprogramming your subconscious to do it for you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But people do not take advantage of their subconscious.
Yep.
One of the things that I teach is, before you go to bed, write down whatever your problems or your issues are. And you know what happens? The subconscious is the creative problem solver. Let it happen while you're sleeping, right? Because if you keep it in the conscious, that's why you're waking up, because your conscious hasn't been relieved of the responsibility. You write it down, it's been relieved of the responsibility, it goes to the subconscious, you wake up, and you have all these aha moments, right? How many aha moments happen in the shower? Right? I don't know about you guys, but I get a lot of aha moments. Like, shit, that's that thing I was trying to figure out.
I wonder why am I in the shower so long? Like,
Right.
Or even in dream state, too. Like, think of a question that I require an answer to. Think of it before I go to sleep. I get it in a dream state, write it down, or remember it, and going to keep doing that through dream state as well.
That's right. And I mean, one of the things when I work with my CEOs is they have to fill out just a short questionnaire the day before we meet, because I want them to be conscious and intentional about the work that we're going to do together, because I want to make sure that we get the impact that we want out of it, right? And so it's, what's going really well in your personal life, what's not going well, what's going well business-wise, what's not going well, and what are the important topics that we need to cover when we're together, right? And making them do that now, because they did it 24 hours in advance. It's in the subconscious. They sleep on it, and we have a better quality discussion the following day, right? And so you do these little things that make all the difference in your approach.
Doesn't take much.
Doesn't take much, right? And I think that's one of the things, Boone. People just think like, oh, I'm miles away. And the reality of it is you're tweaks away.
Yep.
You're tweaks away. And so you just have to keep on reminding people, you're right there. And, we talked a little bit about this before we got on camera, but, my first value is love your people, right? And imagine running a construction company, blue collar, burly men, and you show up on a construction site and you love your people, right? Love your people. I got some strange looks, as you might imagine, right? But it worked out pretty well, right? We took a company that went from 7 million to 13 million to 28 to $30 million. Right? And so that just felt right to me. It was my approach in how we did this, and we ran our business very differently than a construction business. But it takes a lot of courage to use love as your first value. There's so many people that are like, oh, that's a soft value. We shouldn't do that, right? It is hard as hell to love people,
It is.
especially when they're doing things that you think, man, why the hell would they do that? It's not in concert with our vision. It's not in concert with our values. But I say this all the time. I've never built a world-class relationship yelling at people, right? And so there's yellers in the world. No, I just have standards. And we either can meet the standards together, either through talent or training, or we can't.
Right.
And if we can't,
either way is fine.
then we disinvite you from the mission, and that's okay.
Yep.
Let me help you go find what your other thing is.
Right.
But when you approach life and when you approach business, that love is the ultimate superpower, man, everything just falls into place.
Yeah.
Every damn thing falls into place.
Yeah.
Because when you are walking around with hate on your heart, man, I wouldn't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I would not want to be that guy.
Yeah, I've led numerous classes, live events where I'd ask people, so what do you dislike about life? What really gets you? What do you hate? And man, people will get so passionate about telling what they hate, And then I'll talk from the little bond. Tell me what you love. Crickets.
Right.
Crickets. People are terrified to say what they love. They're so passionate about what they hate about life. Somebody pulled out in front of me. Somebody's driving slow in the fast lane. They'll can't get a decent cup of coffee, whatever. I mean, all this stuff that they have run in their subconscious, they can spit it like that.
Right.
What do you love?
Right. Because hope and fear are the two motivators of life. Right. And I think God got it wrong. Fear overwhelms hope. Right. It's just the mechanism of how we survived. Right. Because we're always looking for those threat situations that are out there. And so, the brain reacts to fear much more strongly than hope. And we're taught as a society, don't tell us your hopes, right? Love as a male? Like, do you really just say you loved me? You're damn skippy I did, right? Because when you get to a point where you have that affinity and you have that shared common bond with someone, I'm doing everyone a disservice by not saying, hey, Boone, man, I love you. I hope you have a great day today, right? Because that's the impact that I aspire to have on the world. And so let's go do that together.
Yep.
That becomes super fun. But you're 100% right, Mark. People are afraid to put their dreams and their hopes and what their loves are out there for fear of rejection, fear of failure.
Maybe.
Okay. Tell me more.
I believe it's fear of success.
Fair enough.
Because most people, like what I've noticed is people will get to a certain level of success and then they'll
Self-limiting.
sabotage themselves. And whatever that sabotage is they defend that and they hold on to that part of their identity, And maybe it came from being a kid. They asked for something, they didn't get it. They asked for something again, they didn't get it. So they believe they can't get it. So now that belief I can't get it becomes so strong that for them to go from here to success, that belief and identity has to crumble. That's terrifying to crumble that identity.
I totally get it. And, one of the things that I talk a lot about is if your thoughts, your feelings, or your actions aren't serving you, then change them.
Yep.
Right? And so me holding on to something that happened in my past. I mean, I grew up in a home with terrible dysfunction. I grew up as a young person having dinner at the kitchen table every day. And both my parents were in disease states, and they were not able to take great care of us. I mean, I left home at 16. And the only reason I'm here is because people loved me when I couldn't love myself, right? And I'm still so grateful for those people. But if I continued to hold on to those things, you want to talk about self-limiting beliefs, that my parents were in such difficult places that they couldn't love me the way in which they loved their disease and addiction, I wouldn't be sitting here with you guys today. And so getting yourself to places where, so what, now what? If it's not serving you, then you have to make a change.
Yep.
And the clearer you are on the vision that you want to go make on the world, the impact that you want to go make, the easier it is to say, those don't serve me anymore. And sometimes it's having the conversation to give permission to say, Mark, what I'm hearing is those things don't serve you anymore. Why are you holding on to them? If you really want to go there, let's go do that together. Right? And that comes back to love. To care about people that you would want them to have the same conversation with you when it was needed. To call you out on your bullshit.
Yep.
Right? And that becomes a super important and I think societally a hard thing to do.
Yeah, and for a coach, sometimes you call somebody on their bullshit, as you so eloquently said. A lot of times people don't like to hear that, you know. And I mean, it can be an interesting call out sometimes as a coach, but speak that truth when somebody has that level of, but this you don't understand. This is the way life is. Let me show you all these things in my outside world that prove this again and again and again. Yeah, but maybe you're the one causing all this stuff. But it's what we were sharing before too. We found too is what limits a person most in their life is what they will defend the most and what they hate the most about themselves. So that hate is what's holding that thing in place. And the more they hate it, the more they try to get away from it, the more it's like a tar residue and stays on that person. So, you know, the lesson continues until we get a PhD in the lesson.
So my coach, who I love to death, right, which some people say like a coach has a coach.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, right?
100%.
I'm a practitioner of what I preach. He says, lean into the pain until you learn the lesson.
Yep.
Right? And, you know, we were walking through a frustration that I had a couple weeks ago, and that's what he said to me. And I just thought, that is so brilliant.
Yep.
Because my frustration, that other person isn't thinking about my frustration. They're skipping along on their day. It's my lesson to learn, not theirs. And what's it teaching about me and my values and my approach to life? And it is very clear, right? You know, our family guiding word is contribute. There's a million ways to contribute. My 5-year-old knows. My 9-year-old knows. There's a million ways to contribute. And so when I see people who are not contributing to the world, damn, that frustrates the shit out of me. But it's my problem. It's not theirs. I got to own that. I got to work my way through that and just say, you know, I'm a big believer. The clearer you are on your vision and your values, I'm very focused on where I'm going.
Yep.
And so all the rest of life just sits here. It's just noise. It's like radio static. It's not that I'm not seeing it or not hearing it. It just doesn't serve me. So I don't yell at it. I don't react to it. I just keep on moving in the direction that I know I need to go.
And you said your 5 and 9-year-old contribute to the household and stuff as well.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. It keeps them happy. You know, if they're not contributing, they're not happy. You know,
That's right. Purpose.
Yep.
Everyone has to find it. I mean, I love the whole notion. You know, my daughter, I took her to Sunshine Park, which is, you know, was right around the corner from our house. And I had my son, and I looked over, and there's Brooklyn picking up all these confetti pieces of paper from a birthday party that had been there. And there's little pieces, 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. Brooklyn, what are you doing? She pointed across the park to the 2 people who were collecting the trash. She goes, I'm helping them. I'm making sure that I'm contributing to clean up because it's not their job. Someone else made this mess. And there was my daughter, always paying attention, always thinking about what's going on. Another great story, you know, because I'm just so proud about my kids. They just have this innate thing.
That's cool.
But we live right up the street, and they threw a party at our apartment complex. And so I was walking with Briggs to the clubhouse to get a cup of coffee, and there were beer bottles, and there were plastic, you know, popsicle wrappers and things. And we got about 3/4 of the way through, and he loves nature. And he said, you know, Dad, I think we should help clean up. I said, well, let's go up and, you know, try and get Sissy and see if she'll come down and help us. And we filled 3 trash bags worth of garbage that had been left at the pool. Wow. Not by us. We weren't even there. And Shai, he saw it from the second deck, and he came down to help. He said, I think what you're doing with your kids is amazing. And I said, Shai, it wasn't my idea. It was Briggs's idea to help contribute to clean up. And so when you start instilling those values in your kids, right? Agency over choices. I do 3 things with my kids every single day. One is I ask them what they're grateful for when we're in the car on the way. And so I make sure that they know that there's lots to be grateful for. And the second is I ask them what kind of day are they going to have? Because I want to remind them that that's a choice that they make. They can either have a good day or a bad day. And the third is, I've been saying this to my daughter since she's been 2 and I've been dropping her off at school. And I say, be kind and sweet and add joy to the world. And that is our metric as a family of making decisions, is what you're doing adding joy to the world. And if it's not, then stop it. It's very clear. As a 2-year-old, she understood whether she was adding joy to the world or not. And so you give people these frameworks that are repeatable, they're scalable, and they bring results. And suddenly, now they understand they're in the driver's seat of their own life.
Yep.
And that becomes super fun.
Yep.
Super fun.
Continually putting people in a place of choice.
Absolutely.
Because I know sometimes as we were talking, I was thinking about when I worked in corrections.
Yep.
And thinking about how you were saying love, that's your biggest value. Well, I was in corrections, and I'm an artist. I'm a dancer.
Yep.
How did I get this job?
Yep.
How am I going to make an impact in this place? And the first thing I thought about was love.
Yep.
Now, in that environment, a lot of them believe it was the system that did this to them. There's the reason, but they had choices.
Right.
And so when I was in there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to show them love. I didn't tell them anything. I just acted out. Well, we had a situation where there was a fight. I handled it, got it done. Everybody was cool. One inmate came up to me. He said, hey, Boone, or he's actually just called me Ryan, so that's my last name. He's like, you care. I was like, what? He's like, I can see it in your eyes. You care about us. I was like, all right. No, I don't. No, I don't. I just kind of like winked at him. He's like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. And so that was one story. But one of the most impactful stories that I remember is when I was off work and I left. And I was driving and I'm go by McDonald's, right? And I'm passing McDonald's and I see one of the inmates. He had on a McDonald's uniform. I was like, what the heck?
Right.
And so I go and pull back around, and I don't usually go to McDonald's, but I was like, I have to go see this guy. I'm like, what happened, man? He's like, Ryan, thank you so much for caring about me, for telling me the truth. Because I was like, dude, you got choices, man. You're going to get out soon. What are you going to do? You got a family, you got this, and you that. And I was like, you have choices, bro, when you go out. Let's do this. And so, but I didn't hear about him for a while. So I'm talking with him. And I'm like, dude, what happened? He's like, man, I got this new job. I got a new car. I got custody for my kids. I was like, oh, dude, that is so
It's amazing.
Amazing. And so what's important about why I'm saying this and when I'm hearing about your children is when you can instill that in them in such a young age, you'll definitely keep them out of prison, out of jail, and they can contribute to society. And you're like, that story is amazing to hear your children do that. Because the first thing I thought about was like, okay, my son, what about these inmates? If they had that as a kid, that type of leadership style, understand they have choices, value, how much can we impact our world with that message of value and love? That's awesome.
Yeah, they're going to bring that to everyone they meet. That would be just at that frequency,
That's why in the second half of my career, I want to help CEOs have more fun by creating compelling companies that outperform and still make it home for dinner. Because I know that the world is a better place when people feel cared about, challenged, and comfortable. Right? That's what you should be thinking about for the people who are in your care.
Right.
And, I think about things. I had a guy walk into my office when I was running the construction company, and he shut the door. And we had some ups and downs, right? But a fun guy, loved him. And he said, Jerry, I would take a bullet for you. And I said, Tom, I'm from Philadelphia, but I hope no one is ever shooting me. And he said, no, man, that's how much I appreciate what you've done for me, how you've cared for me, how you've looked after me. And that to me that's the magic. When people have that, they want to be cared for, they want to be challenged, right? Because we talked about a little bit about purpose before. And, they want to be comfortable. Do they have the tools and resources that they need to succeed? Hard to hold people accountable if they don't have the tools or the training or the resources to succeed.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Right.
And so how do you continue to do that? You do that in all areas of your life, right? It's not like I apply my gifts to business, right? But it's also the same way that I live my whole life, right? There's no on-off switch. It's not binary. It's who I am,
Yeah.
right? And that becomes that authentic alignment. We were all at Halloween a couple days ago. Think about it. We all pull on masks so we can have this alter ego and run around the neighborhood and have some fun. And it just got me thinking, how many people are walking around with masks in their everyday life?
Yep.
And how tiring and exhausting and frustrating that must be. And the reminder, you can take the mask off. It's up to you. And sometimes that's all that it takes. And there were 3 people on Monday that sent me individual text messages. Right? Hey, thanks for the reminder that I don't have to show up for other people. I first have to show up for myself. Then I can go do the work that I'm meant to go do.
Yeah.
But if I'm not solid in myself, you're just not going to make the impact on the world.
Everybody thinks they're hiding behind the mask, but everybody can tell they have a mask on. No one's that great of an actor,
Amen, Mark. Amen.
Wow, come on. Yeah, I can see this. How do you see it? Because you're broadcasting it all over the place. You walk around in a box and all the instructions are on the outside, Hilarious, man.
So true.
So, the mask thing, we were talking about that in the previous podcast too. I mean, it's just to maintain that false persona takes a huge amount of energy because it's a lie,
I think the greatest ripoff of success is success without fulfillment. Right? I've worked with entrepreneurs that on the outside they have the big house and they have a spouse that you would be really proud, and they have the kids, and then I talk to them and they're miserable.
Yep.
Because they made all this money and they looked up and said, is this all there is?
Yep.
And I continually remind them that your finances create freedom to create fulfillment, right? And so finances are just a tool. Money in and of itself brings no happiness at all. It may buy you some things that make you temporally happy, but it's fulfillment that we're after.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that I think people get wrong, this whole idea of like, I'm not happy. Well, you can choose to be fucking happy. I choose that every single morning. It's the first choice that I make. What a great day. I get a chance to do it again.
Amen, brother.
And we disalign this idea of that other people can impact the system, all of the external locus of control versus the internal locus of control. I'm responsible for creating my own life. Right? It's not all the other people or all the other things that are happening around me. It's me.
Yeah.
And I learned that. I was super lucky. I had a high school soccer coach that is, world class. He's, I think, number 6 in the whole country for a number of wins. Super successful guy. And he would talk to us about it's not the wind, it's not the referee, it's not the other team. It's none of those things. It's your ability to make the impact, and that's what it's all about. So own what you're doing and don't worry about anything else. It's that internal locus of control and that agency of choices that you can make.
Yeah.
As they say, stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in
That's
your
right.
lane.
All of those things, I talked about it before, it's noise, right? It's just a distraction. I've never won a single race in my whole entire life, Boone, looking left, looking right, or looking behind me to see what's going on. Competitive landscape doesn't matter to me because I am so focused in on who I serve, how I serve them, and why I do it. And that's when you can get laser focused forward on the work that you're doing.
Yep. And going back to the people you said who would have a lot of things and produce these results, a lot of people stay in that want. I want this. When I get this, I'll be happy. I want this. When I get this, I'll be happy. When I want. And that want is...
Have you been talking to my 5-year-old?
Does he run that I want stuff? Does he run
He is
I
in
want?
that stage, Mark, and I just had this conversation with him this morning.
Yeah, I work a lot of times with parents and their kids too. So if you can have them go from, instead of saying I want, say I have a request.
Yes.
Change that language from want to request. When somebody he goes, I want, I won't even answer you until you say, I have a request, Daddy. Cool. Because that takes that charge off of it. Want has a big charge. And so people will go from one want to another and never get themselves the fulfillment of actually enjoying life. And the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And because it produces a chemical cocktail in the body that's toxic.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to use that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So J Mac.
Love it.
I love J Mac. I swear I'm gonna get you a necklace.
Flavor Flav. I need
Flavor Flav.
I need a clock.
Big clocks.
Always on time.
Always. I love it. All right, give me your address and I'll get you one. So you mentioned earlier about millennials, and ever since the quarantine happened, a lot of people are looking out for their job. They're looking to create fulfillment in their life with their work. What advice would you give, newly CEOs or people who are trying to start their company?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Great Resignation that is going on, I mean, we are in the thick of it, and the number of businesses that have been started, there are record numbers of businesses that are starting. And so as I think about kind of, when you start out, you don't start out as a $10 million company, right? You start out with an idea. And so the clearer you can get from the start of what's the impact that I want to go make, which is your vision, your why, and the values, which is your operating system and how that we're going to go do business, that is the rocket fuel that starts, right? So for me, I have a business acceleration model because I've been lucky to run businesses that have been high growth. And so I look and say your foundation is your vision, your values, and your resources, which is not just your bank account. Right, how we start a business. It's
team
who are all the people around me? What's my intellectual property, right? All of those things. As I explained that to one CEO recently, it was, how many mistakes can I make before I go out of business? That's what your resources are, right? And so I'd really focus in on the vision and the values because most solopreneurs, CEOs start out being the technical leader, right? I have this idea, I can do this better than where I was doing it in my previous job. Right? And so they're really good at the operation side. So there's 3 core functions of every single business because people get it wrong and complicate it. If you understand that there are 3 core functions of every business: marketing, sales, and operations. And that is it. So marketing is, do people know, are they aware of me? Do I have their attention? Have I created desire? And ultimately, you want to build community around that. Right? The second is, now that people know that I'm here, can I convert them? Can I upsell them? Can I resell them? Can I retain? Right? And then the third is, operationally, can I profitably deliver the product or service into the marketplace so that I create raving fans, which becomes a self-fulfilling marketing cycle that you go through. And so I tell newly minted business owners, CEOs, entrepreneurs, keep your life simple. Be really focused in on your vision and your values so that you have that personal alignment, that you're not frustrated of how people are acting. Well, you haven't told them how to act. So get real clear on, here's how this business operates. Here's what we celebrate. Here's what we don't tolerate. It's going to be way easier. You're not going to resent your business. And then understand the market that you serve and how you're going to serve them. Most people can build at least $1 million business just doing those 2 things right.
Yeah.
I love the simplicity.
It's when you start getting into, I've got to take the digital marketing course and this, and I've got the newfangled gizmo, and next you have a tech stack. It's like, people have made millions of dollars on pen and paper. I don't know if you ever saw the eBay story, but when the bankers came into eBay and they were interested in potentially taking it public, all they saw were stacks of envelopes everywhere, postal mailbags. And they said, what are those? They said, well, we don't have a system. We just tell people, here's how you calculate what you owe us. Please send us a check. and they had millions of dollars sitting around their office, right? An iconic company, eBay, still around 25 years after its founding. Zero technology, just had a website. Send us in a check. They were so successful they couldn't even put the checks in the bank. So that's a company I would want to take public.
Question for you. So have you ever fired a client?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. I've fired customers. I have personally fired clients. When there is disalignment, it does not work. All you're going to do is slow yourself down, your business down. I'll give you an example. When I was running a construction company, so Blackstone is the largest holder of rental properties in the United States. And they came here to town and they wanted to do business with us. And their approach to business was very different than the way we did business. And there was another company that was also a hedge fund out of Tampa called Fundamental REO. And we were very aligned with how we did business. And I walked into a meeting with Blackstone, and typical construction industry where people jump up and down and yell and scream, which is not what I do. And the local market president said, I'm glad you're here. I'm not here to yell at you. I said, great, because I don't yell. And that was one of the last properties we ever did with them. And he called me later because we were a very significant provider of services across the state of Florida. And he said, how could you not want to do business with us? It's because we do business differently. There's other people that will do business the way you do business. It's not how we do business. And so I fired the largest owner of rental homes in the whole country because we had disalignment.
Awesome.
And it worked out really well because we became Fundamental REO's biggest provider in the state. And I think we were doing about $5 million a year with them, right? And so when values are clear, decisions are easy. And that's the piece. I mean, one of the other things that I would talk about for newly minted entrepreneurs, when you don't have a vision of what your impact is going to be, how you're going to do it, and the product or service that you're bringing to market and who your ideal client is, you do things that you color outside the lines. And now suddenly I have this client that I shouldn't have done that, right? I was talking to one of my CEOs yesterday. They did a deal they shouldn't have done. And they said, you were right. We shouldn't have done this deal, right? We had a good chuckle about it. But it's one of the things. You become a soulless organization if you miss the mark in making decisions that are in alignment with your vision and values, because you wake up every morning and when that phone ring happens and you look at your phone, you go, shit, it's Boone. That's when you know you have the wrong client. That's when you know you have to unwind that relationship. And so most people don't have the confidence to do it. And I will tell you, almost always, your business will go faster with higher trust and seamless transition by firing clients that aren't in alignment.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I do. I'll have a little 30-minute conversation with somebody to take them on as a client, and sometimes they get on the call, have a funny feeling about them. So I'll test them a little bit and see if they'll stay for the coaching, and I'll come across with some pretty direct truths, and if they stay and they take it and hey, thank you for it, then great. If they fight and argue and all that stuff, then hey, this isn't for you. Go somewhere else,
Right.
And it's nice to have checks coming in, and I mean, go somewhere else. Go find somebody else that's more.
So one of the things that I say all the time is I don't chase entrepreneurs. Right, because if they are not in enough pain and they're not motivated to make a change, you don't need a guy like me. You don't want to pay a guy like me because you're not going to get the results that you want. And so I don't chase entrepreneurs. And I had a client earlier this year, and we were talking about expectations. And one of the things that they said to me was, well, I need you to motivate me. I said, I'm not your guy. You need to bring the motivation yourself. I'll bring inspiration. I will bring inspiration, right? If you look at my phone, I have, text lists. I send inspiration out all the time. But you have to bring the motivation. And if that's not the case, then it's not going to work. And that's not to say that I haven't done bad deals before. And you had to unwind those bad deals. But at the end of the day, the clearer you are in your vision and your values, the easier it is to operate your business. It's a universal truth that I believe.
You said it a couple of times, unwind. I love that little word.
Yeah.
unwind because it's visually seen like, oh, okay, we just gotta. It may take a little bit, but it's an unwinding.
It's the same thing. I don't believe in hiring and firing. I invite people on the mission, and I disinvite people. Right? And it's just language matters.
yeah.
Language matters, and it's the idea that I'm in control. Right? When CEOs tell me like, I have this very frustrating person in my life, I said, well, you invited them into the business. If they're frustrating the shit out of you, disinvite them out of the business. That is your responsibility, and that's your right. And it's not that I don't have compassion for that person. I'm going to help find them another place.
Yep.
But what I also have to be mindful of is the 50 other families that I have in my business, I'm responsible to them. I have to be a great steward of the company's resources.
Yep.
And if I have the wrong person inside my business, it's my job to disinvite them. Because again, you're not going to have people who, if they're on the mission and there's alignment of where we're going and how we get there, they're going to stay on the mission. They're not. Those aren't the people that are going to piss you off. It's the people that have values disalignment or vision disalignment that you have to say, time to go.
Yep.
Right?
That person leaves, everybody goes, oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We can breathe again, you know.
Well, and I think it's super critical, Mark. I mean, if you can build companies where there's high levels of trust,
Yep.
because the rules of the game are clear, right? Do you guys like sports? You like to dance?
Yes.
But you like sports?
Sports, basketball,
Okay.
football.
All right. So I was soccer because I've run soccer companies in the past, right? So two 11-man sides can show up to a field. A referee can show up with 2 linesmen, and their fans can show up. Everyone can enjoy the game. Why is it?
Rules, man.
Yeah.
The rules of the game are
Yep.
clear. You know what we're really shitty about doing in business?
Vague rules.
Being really clear about the rules.
Yep.
And then wondering, why are these people not performing? Why is this not going well? Well, I had a clear vision in my head. I just forgot to tell everyone. And then I try and hold you responsible. And then you get pissed off.
Right.
Right?
Same-
Negative
and for-
spiral.
For your clients too, here's a code of conduct for clients. Here's a code of conduct for, I do live event classes too.
Yep.
Here's a code of conduct for a live event class. You choose to operate outside this, then it's time for you to leave the class. Because otherwise the person will take out the whole class, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, see ya.
Positive energy is contagious.
Yep.
Unfortunately, so is negative energy.
Yep.
So, what are you looking for most in the future with yourself and your business?
Right. For me, it's super simple and super easy because I'm so clear about where I'm going and the impact that I want to make. And so in the second half of my career, it's about positively impacting 5 million people over the next 5 years. And I'm going to do that I'm grateful for the opportunity to come, be with you as you guys launch this show.
Yes.
And share the message of, boy, it's your life. Live it on your terms. And I just do it in a business environment because for me, that's how I can do it at scale. If I can positively impact CEO by CEO by CEO, there's 50 people inside that company. There's 75 people inside that company. That creates leverage for me.
Yep.
And so that's the gift that God gave me, and that's what I'm going to go do. And so it's been fun, and I appreciate you guys coming along for the journey.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that CEO transforms themselves. That transforms the leadership of the company. Everyone gets it. They take it home to their family. I mean, it makes huge differences. Keeps trickling down.
Amen.
Ripples on the pond, man.
Amen. And that's really, as I see it, the greatest gift that I can give to the world.
Yep.
Right. I've been serving my whole life to get to this point, and that people believe that I have a point of view that positively impacts their ability to run companies. It's worked out pretty well so far.
Yeah.
So it's super fun.
It's awesome.
Every Thursday I do office hours from 2 to 3 o'clock. It's a free session for senior leaders. People just come on a Zoom call and we get to create a community and ask questions and get better together. I'd love to offer that to anyone that's in the audience. So it's not lead generation. It's not, it's literally me keeping myself sharp, honestly, because I get to see lots more businesses and say, oh, okay, solopreneur versus, the $50 million company I have. There are differences. There are nuances in doing that. So I would, if that's okay, I would love to invite people to come and join on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. What is the takeaway from this? What do you get out of this whole conversation?
I think my best takeaway was from Mark, and it was about teaching my son something. And so I'm grateful for you to transform that I want to I have a request. And I think that's important in business, right? I mean, business is just a microcosm of life.
Yep.
And so if you can get people's framing to be a little bit different, I think that works really well. So that was my takeaway.
Okay. And you mentioned that you have something that you do every Thursday, a Zoom call. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So since November 2019, even before COVID hit, I had been doing something called office hours. And so it is an opportunity for us to gather every Thursday from 2 to 3 o'clock Eastern time. And it's senior leaders, come as you are, come as you can.
Okay.
And it's an opportunity for community and problem solving to say, hey, I have this thing going on. You have other really smart, experienced CEOs on the call to say, here's how I solved that problem. Okay. And so it's just a great opportunity for people to come together in a non-threatening way to learn and grow together.
Okay. How do we connect? How did us viewers connect with that?
So if you go to provenchaos.com, you can register. There's a button in the top right corner that's blue. It says free business advice. And so you can register there.
Right. Awesome.
It's a Zoom call, I assume.
It's a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of like a Vistage type of a.
It is.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. It's just an opportunity for people to come together and to be better together. One of my core values is we are always better together. 2 is better than 1.
Yeah.
And when you can put your ego to the side and say, here's what I'm dealing with. Does anyone have a better answer than I have right now? It's really fun. We had one of our members who's been on the call for 14 months. He is in state government work, frustrated by the pace of change there and the motivation inside state government, as you might be able to imagine. He just launched his business 3 weeks ago. And so when you talk about making a real difference in community and people finding their unique ability, it's amazing that something like that happens.
And it's just through the office hours?
Just through office hours.
Awesome. Wow.
Just through office hours.
That's some value right there.
Yeah, it's something that I think about. You want to talk about humbling and serving the world. We have changed the trajectory of his life and his family's life and the people he'll serve. That's the greatest gift that I can give to the world. Get people into their unique ability. So yeah, I would tell all your people, come visit. It's fun.
Right.
You guys should come.
I will.
It is fun.
I will.
It is fun.
All right, Mark.
Yeah.
Your takeaway. Or what are you getting out of this, Mark?
What am I getting out of it? My favorite question. What am I getting out of this? Yeah, I appreciate your have you everything, the vision and the way you eloquently speak with how important alignment is of the foundations of what we're doing here. And when the foundations are clear and everyone's aligned with those, how easy it is to take the company up. A lot of times I do those things, but I do them internally, but to have them really shared where the group gets it is super important. So I appreciate you doing that.
Absolutely.
What am I getting out of this, man? I honestly, from when I first walked up the stairs and I saw you, you stood up and you shook my hand and you said, hey, what's going on? I felt your energy, man. I felt your love. And so I appreciate you bringing your energy here and your simplicity. I don't know if it's just because of the artist thing, but I can go all over the place. And so I know I'll be watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, going back through all the little nuggets that you've shared because it was resonating with me. I'm like, oh yeah, I do that. I
love it. I love it.
So thank you, and thank you for inviting us to office hours. I'll definitely be on there.
Please do
for sure, and share with my friends.
It's a fun group.
Okay.
And when you see businesses starting to come out of it, you think, man, we are in the right space making an impact.
That's
and
awesome. How big is your group now?
You know what? There's like maybe about 30 that are registered. And as you know, CEOs, 1 week it's on the calendar, the next week, they're traveling somewhere. So normally there's a group of anywhere from 8 to 14 that show up on a regular basis. But it's, for me, it's important as I continue to grow and make the impact that I'm going to go make to invite people to come join us.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. I love it. We're creating community.
That's
We're
right.
creating community of leadership.
Community
I
on a
love it,
mission,
man.
baby.
Let's go.
That's what we're doing.
Let's do this. I love it. I love the energy.
That's the Pisces where we keep overlapping communities and whatever you put into it, more of it comes out.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm with you. Thank you guys so much.
You're
Really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you. And thank you guys for joining us. And I hope you got a little bit of something out of this. Come back and we'll have another amazing guest.